My husband, 29, and I, 30 female, are currently expats living abroad. We recently welcomed our first child, infant. My mother, 50, has been staying with us for 3 weeks to help and support us during this stage. A few days ago, my mother-in-law, 67, informed me that she and my father-in-law, 70, would be arriving in 6 days to surprise my husband for his 30th birthday and meet their grandchild. Mother-in-law insisted I not tell my husband about their visit, which would ruin the surprise. They've thoroughly planned and booked their trip without consulting me or my husband on timing, plans, etc. My mother will leave 2 days after their arrival, and my husband is working weekends for additional income, so I'll be alone with them for most of their visit. My in-laws are elderly, so I don't expect help with our newborn. We were anticipating his parents would visit eventually, but expected a break in between having our parents here and would have planned it so that my husband would be off work during their visit. I must add that we're not close with his parents, having a very limited relationship with them due to their past actions and behavior during our wedding. We've had to put boundaries up to protect our family. My husband is the middle child, so he always felt neglected by his parents and considered himself the least favorite child. Under different circumstances, this surprise, flying halfway around the world for his birthday, could be viewed as a grand gesture. However, my husband and I are exhausted and sleep deprived. My husband mentioned he was looking forward to having some alone time since everything's been so hectic since the baby arrived. Today I decided to tell my husband that his parents would surprise him for his birthday in 2 days. He immediately looked stressed, but understood why I decided to tell him. He said he would act surprised when they arrived, but he hadn't said anything about their visit since our talk and went to sleep early. My mother-in-law messaged me asking if my husband knew they would be surprising him, and I said he was still unaware. Am I the idiot for ruining the surprise? Honey, your husband needed a heads up so he could mentally prepare himself. And you know you both get ready for house guests that are going to show up out of nowhere on their doorstep. Most people aren't guest ready, not for overnight, especially not sleep-deprived parents. I'm sorry, but your relationship and promise to your mother-in-law are less important than your relationship with your husband. Your loyalty is to him. You're not the idiot. Yeah, I would definitely need a heads up to mentally prepare myself if I have guests coming over for the weekend. Plus, there are things like getting the guest room ready, buying extra food, and ensuring I have the weekends off when you have guests. There shouldn't be any surprise visits to the new parents. There are times when surprises are unwelcome, and this is one of them. You know, it would be a shame, I say, if OP's husband took her and the baby away for a couple of days. As a surprise, he had plans for his birthday and a treat for them both. And since OP's husband knew nothing about an impending surprise visit from anybody, there's absolutely no reason they couldn't take a spur-of-the-moment weekend to an Airbnb. And since OP wasn't supposed to spill the beans, LOL. Genius. Sorry, mother-in-law, father-in-law. I guess you're gonna have to get a hotel. Our trip is non-refundable. Whoopsie. I have a firm rule that nobody gets to decide what I keep from my husband. I believe your mother-in-law doesn't get to decide that for you. It would have been different if she had said, "We have a surprise, but you can't tell your husband. Can you keep it secret?" before telling you what it was. But to say, "This is happening, but you can't tell him," is different to me. Add that on to the fact that the surprise is a visit, inviting themselves, possibly staying with you, during an exhausting time. Heck no, your husband deserves to be warned. I, female 25, have a close relationship with my brother, 27, despite our occasional disagreements, typical of siblings. The issue took place last weekend during a family gathering. We were all enjoying each other's company when my brother made a lewd comment about my appearance. It was entirely inappropriate and not the kind of remark you'd expect a brother to make about his sister. I immediately asked him to retract his words. He merely laughed it off, insisting it was a joke and telling me to lighten up. The rest of the family looked visibly uncomfortable, but remained silent. After the gathering, I confronted him privately, reiterating that his comment was unacceptable. However, he stood by his joke and claimed I was overreacting. He said it was just regular sibling banter. Feeling the need to stand up for myself, I informed the rest of the family about his behavior and specific comment he made. I believe they had a right to know why there was tension between us. The fallout was immediate. Many family members were appalled by his remark, and he has since been shunned from family activities until he apologized and understood why his comment was wrong. Now my parents claim that I'm causing unnecessary drama and strain in the family by sharing what happened. They think I should have just shrugged it off because boys will be boys, but that he didn't mean anything by it. So here I am, feeling like I've done the right thing, yet facing backlash from my family. Am I the idiot for telling the family about my brother's lewd comment, which led him to being shunned? Not the idiot. Boys will be boys is such a lame excuse for not holding men accountable for their crappy misogynistic behavior. He's 27. That's not a boy, he's a man. He's responsible for his own mistakes and the consequences that come from those mistakes. Says a lot about your mom and dad, though, that the rest of the family are appalled and shun him because of what he said, but your own parents blame you. Guessing he's the golden child? Your parents are just focusing on making their life easier, and the fastest way to do that is to get you to stay silent. You were right to speak up. People who behave inappropriately in family and friends environments count on others being too scared of exclusion or conflict to push back, leaving their path open to continue the behavior without consequences. If it's not funny, it's not a joke. If something can be broken by truth, it should be. My wife, 29, and I, 28 female, were lucky enough to receive major help with buying our first house as a wedding gift from my wife's parents. They paid a down payment of 50%, and we paid the monthly mortgage. Her parents are very well off, each making over $250K each year. They don't have to continue to work, but they often travel for a good 8 weeks of the year, and in general, want to continue to work for a few more years to support their lifestyle. My parents, however, live a more modest life. They can pay for what they need and a lot of what they want, and own a house in a small rural area. My in-laws live a 15-minute drive from our house. Part of the down payment gift was ensuring we remain close to them. My wife and I expect our first child together in May and are super excited. We've started to discuss childcare options, and in our city, a spot in a baby room at a legit daycare is almost $2K a month. My parents knew about this struggle, and my mother offered to stay and watch our baby once we've run out of maternity leave. The baby will probably be under a year. They, however, live over 2 hours from where we are, so I offered them the bedroom and washroom in our finished basement. My father's workplace would be less of a commute from our place than where they live now. So, in this idea, my parents would live with us while my mother provided free childcare. This would save us a lot of money and ensure that they have an active role in their grandchild's life. However, when we told my in-laws about it, it was awkward. And then later my wife came to me, telling me that they weren't comfortable with us letting our parents live for free in a house they paid for. She said they offered to help pay for childcare if that was an issue. I feel they don't have a say in what we do with our house, considering it was a gift. We are very thankful, of course, but I don't think we owe it to them to not let my parents stay with us. I also think it's unfair since they'll be 15 minutes from their grandchild and could see them every day, while if my parents stay where they live now, they will see our child a few times a month, max. Am I the idiot? Edit to add, I of course discussed this with my wife before involving either of our parents. We agreed prior to the conversation with our parents. Now we're a bit nervous, her more so than me. We're both also women. We're a lesbian couple. I'm the one carrying the child. Not the idiot. Either the house was a gift or it wasn't. If it's a gift, then it is your house, and you can choose what you do with it. If your in-laws want authority over who lives there, It isn't your house. It's theirs, and you're just paying rent. Your in-laws are using a gift as a way to control how you live. That's manipulative behavior. It's your house, period. Would they have a say in your marriage if they paid for the wedding? If they buy you dinner, would they tell you what to order? No, because a gift is a gift. It is not buy them a vote in what you do. Your wife needs to stand up to her parents and make sure that this doesn't set a precedent with them for future control. So charge your parents $2,000 in monthly rent, then pay them $2,000, both amounts under the table, for babysitting. They no longer live there for free. OP, please don't let them keep you from doing what's best for your family, especially your baby once it's born. It may be time to talk with them about their behavior, e.g., their expectation of control when paying for things. It seems to me like this is less about the house and more that they're willing to pay to ensure the other grandparents don't have more time than they do. Living together will automatically give OP's parents more time with the baby, which makes them uncomfortable. Having your parents move in would anger the in-laws, but it also sends a clear signal that they can't use their money to boss you around. It seems like a fight worth having. I, Jenna, 32, female, have a son, Jason, teen. He's a good boy, and I've raised him by myself and raised him to be a good man. Or so I thought. He had a beautiful girlfriend, Sophia, teen, who I loved very much like she was my own child. She came around often, and she was very kind to my son and me. She loved my son very much, and he loved her too. He always told me how pretty she was and how much he loved her, and I thought it was very sweet. I had a high school sweetheart too, who's Jason's dad, but we unfortunately got a divorce. Jason and Sophia's relationship reminded me a lot of my ex-husband and me. I heard my son talking to a girl from his room on the phone as I walked up to tell him that dinner was ready. I asked him, "Is that Sophia? Can I say hi?" He said it wasn't Sophia. It was his girlfriend. I was shocked by these words. I would never imagine my son cheating on a girl who loved him very much, and he loved her too. I said, "Get off the phone and come down. Dinner's ready." As we sat down for dinner, I chatted with him. I confronted him about the girl he was talking to. I said, "Who was that girl? You have a girlfriend, you can't cheat." He just simply replied, "I can do whatever I want. They're just girls. I don't care about their feelings." I was speechless. I can't believe my son said that. I raised him to be a good boy, not an inconsiderate boy. I told him that he needed to tell that other girl the truth, that he has a girlfriend, but he said no, and he could keep both of them. I knew that it was wrong, so I decided to tell his girlfriend. I texted her the following day, telling her the truth. She was devastated by the news. Her boyfriend of 2 years was cheating on her with some girl he met about a week ago. I felt terrible for her and apologized on my son's behalf. She thanked me for telling her and said she was breaking up with him. I respected her decision and said it was the right thing to do. My son ran downstairs telling me that Sophie broke up with him and that she knew he was cheating. I told him that I told her, and he had a right fit at me. I said it was unfair to her, and it was the right choice for her to break up with him. He was very upset, but I guess he deserves it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but as your son gets older, you should be more hands-off with how he handles relationships. I think you made the right call here for sure, though. As a parent, I'd worry more about your son's moral compass. Make sure he learns his lesson. You may want to pay more attention to what your son is listening to and looking at online. It sounds like he may be going down the Andrew Tate type of rabbit hole. There is a growing issue with young boys getting caught up in incel activities. He said he didn't care about any of their feelings because, to him, girls are things, not people. Not good. Agreed. You might want to try getting him to talk about where he's learning these things, rather than controlling what he looks at online. That's a battle you cannot win. Please don't think that you can. But you can talk to your son about appropriate relationship behavior. Remind him that you're part of 50% of the human race, and that some really bad people out there put out some terrible advice that only hurts them in the end. I, female teen, have a younger brother, young teen, and a younger sister, tween. My siblings are both on the autism spectrum. My brother is worse. He's more prone to outburst and break stuff frequently. My sister's nonverbal, but sometimes when the world gets too much for her, she can end up spiraling and breaking stuff. I don't feel like my parents do enough to prevent the damage or to help protect stuff. My things are broken way too frequently, and nothing I do will protect them 100% of the time. It took until I was 12 for my parents to agree to buy me a lock for my door. My brother broke the lock on my door within 3 months of my parents buying it. They took 11 months to replace it and gave me attitude over the whole thing. But they also gave me attitude for my siblings' destruction in my room. They never helped me clean it up. They expect me to be responsible for that. And more often than not, they say they can't rebuy something or refuse to, saying I need to take better care of my stuff. I'm on my third laptop, and my grandparents bought the last two. My closet hardly has anything in it because my clothes get destroyed. My bed was broken a couple of times. The same goes for posters in my room being torn, and even my homework being destroyed by the hurricane my brother can be. My mom gave my sister my favorite cup, and it got broken. My grandparents bought it for me when I was 5, and it made me so sad to lose it. Then Dad expected me to wash his car for him after my brother covered the whole thing in paint. I had already done a lot of cleanup in my room that day, on top of my chores. I'm at a point where I can't be around my siblings without becoming frustrated. And I know it's not their fault, so I don't want to lose it with them. But I will if I'm around them, and resentment is probably built. My parents are on my case about spending more time with my siblings and being a better sister the way I was 5 years ago. I also don't have the love and respect for my parents normally expected from kids. Then a couple of weeks ago, my parents wanted my help. They wanted to do some work around the house and wanted me to take part in entertaining my siblings and swapping and doing some of the work. I refused to help them, and they accused me of making life more difficult. I told them they didn't deserve for me to make life easier. They don't deserve my help. I told them they had taken so much out on me when I had no control, and they did. I told them I didn't think they had done enough. Every gift is the start of a punishment because they'll only call me irresponsible when one of my siblings breaks it. I told them they expect so much from me, yet won't put the work in to protect or help me. My parents told me it was an awful attitude to have, and they're humans doing their best. They yelled at me for so long that I could hear it all in my sleep that night, and things have been even more difficult ever since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm so sorry, honey. Your childhood has been sacrificed to the needs of your siblings. You need to leave that house ASAP, whether asking your grandparents or other family if you can stay with them, or hanging on until you get to college. Fair warning, your parents will likely expect you to take care of your siblings once they get older. My grandparents know everything that's been going on. We talked about it, and they even asked my parents if I could live with them, but my parents said no. My extended family is also aware. Most of the family knows they can't have anything worthwhile on them, around my brother especially. Our house is not deemed unsafe by CPS. Just make it to 17, dude. If you're in the US, you can leave home at 17, mainly because the courts won't take a 17-year-old to court, since the case can take months, which is a waste of time, since you'll be 18 before it's done. I received that advice from the police and a CPS caseworker. They know that legally, your home can't be deemed unfit, but that doesn't make it an okay environment.